Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. We are a few days post Outlaw Nottingham Half now, 6 days to be exact. It's Saturday. Had some time to reflect on what happened on race day, go through some of the numbers, some of the stats. So today I'm going to go through all of that, swim, bike, run, transitions as well. Any stats and stuff I will put on screen, but let's get into it. I really hope the audio is going to work, but right, the swim. And the swim went very well. My best ever swim. First time I've ever broken 40 minutes. So I think it was 39:30ish. It was actually close to a 10-minute course PB. And in my defence, last year's Outlaw Nottingham Half swim was the slowest swim I've ever done. So couldn't have got off to a better start on the day. Sub 40. Secretly hoping for sub 41, but sub 40 was absolutely amazing. GPS seems to have tracked okay, so it's not like it was a short distance or anything like that either, so bang on. Yeah, and like I say, first, and that's actually since Weymouth in September last year was my previous course PB, 41:30ish I think. Then over the winter I did of hard training down the pool, a few lake swims, and looks to have all paid off with my best ever swim, so couldn't have asked for it to start better. In terms of the swim itself, I started on the furthest pier away, so you have a straight line up to the first turn point, probably the fastest line as well. First few hundred metres were perfectly fine, and then once you get to around 500-600 you have faster people from the previous wave catching you, and then you end up catching a few of the slow people in the previous wave, so a little bit of fisticuffs around that sort of point, but it's quite enjoyable actually. It breaks it up, gets rid of a bit of the boredom when you're having people swimming over the top of you and hitting you, kicking your feet, kicking your hands, all that sort of stuff. So but then you turn around the two buoys at the end and then back into the home straight along the side with the transition on. Quite difficult to get out actually this year. There's quite a steep little hill to get out, little not set of steps to quite a steep incline to get out. For once actually I didn't feel dizzy getting out of the water, which is interesting. Whether that was just because I ended up having to walk out. Cheers. Whether that was just because I walked out rather than ran out for the first bit, because of that steep section. So yeah, all good. In terms of position, typically I'm in the bottom 10% out of the swim, so this year I was around 700th, which is basically bang on average. So yeah, like I say, the swim and the start of the day could not have gone any better for me. And then into T1 we went, no issues here. Wetsuit came straight off, goggles, hat, everything was fine there. No issues getting the cycling gear on. I'd pre-talked my cycling socks and shoes, helmet on, tri-belt, everything sorted. Textbook T1 actually, and probably for the first time ever. I'd strapped everything to my bike so I don't need to worry about anything else, and then it was all the kit on. And then we were out onto the bike. This is where things started to go a little bit downhill for me actually, which is a bit of a shame really, because it wasn't really a physical thing, it was a mental thing. My plan or target for the day was to ride to power of around 240 watts. That's based on the fact that in previous events I have averaged around 230, including this event last year. So I thought after a winter of training I'd be able to chuck another 10 watts on there, go slightly faster. But I don't know what it was. For the first hour I kept looking at my bike computer and seeing a good average speed of sort of around 21.5 miles an hour, which is what I knew I'd averaged for last year's 228 bike split, and I just wasn't willing to push on any harder. In terms of effort level, it felt like a 6 out of 10. I mean, I was quite comfortable actually just going at that speed, at that power. But yeah, for some reason I just couldn't convince myself to then put more watts on top and suffer more, put more effort in to get it up to say 7 or 8 out of 10 in order to not chip off some time off of last year's bike split. So in the end they ended up doing 210 watts, normalising 220 for a bike split of around 2.5 hours, so about 2 minutes slower than last year, which is disappointing. But like I say, up to Oxton Bank, it felt so comfortable doing that speed, but then I just couldn't push on from there. I was around 4 or 5 seconds slower up Oxton Bank, but again, that was just, I think I was just trying to save my legs a bit. I think secretly I was thinking, oh, if the bike leg is this easy and I still come within a couple of minutes of last year's time, then I'm more likely to have a really good run off it, maybe try and get like a 1:25 or something. But you'll find out later that didn't really happen. In terms of nutrition and hydration, my nutrition was fine. I had all of my Cliff Blocks, 6 of them. But in terms of hydration, I just couldn't finish my drinks. I was drinking every 15 minutes and eating a Cliff Block every 30. But I don't think I even had half of my hydration on my bike. And then in terms of equipment, the front profile design, front hydration system was perfectly fine. It does leak a lot, but it still works. It's easy to get fluids from. The Easy Disc was absolutely brilliant. I think that's the only reason I got even close to last year's time, based on the fact that I did 20 watts less than last year, and was aiming to actually do 30 watts more than what I actually put out. So the Easy Disc was brilliant. The road conditions, everyone knows what they're like, they are absolutely terrible, but things are clearly marked. The final mile is absolute chaos, absolute carnage. I did see one guy about half a mile from the bike finish just running with his bike. I'm assuming it had snapped in half or something due to the road conditions. But yeah, all in all, the bike split wasn't too bad, but I just think it could have gone a lot better if I'd been willing to put more effort in. But I don't know, something happened to me mentally and I wasn't willing to suffer more than what I was doing at that point. So in terms of effort, it was a 6 out of 10, but I wanted it to be a 7 or an 8. Yeah, 2:30 bike split, and then coming in towards the end, saw the family and friends cheering me on as we then headed into T2, and again everything went to plan, perfect. Did have to stop to the toilet just off the bike, but yeah, other than that, bike racked fine, shoes went on fine with the sort of elastic lace clip-on thing. Switched the belt around and ran off with my Lucozade bottle to drink on the way around to save me time at the aid stations. So yeah, couldn't have gone any better. And out onto the run, but not before a little pit stop. And then yeah, out onto the new loop, a new course that made some little changes, so it's a bit more on the grass. There's a little loop at the start, there's a couple more short, sharper hills, but all in all it's not a physically tough course. I think it's slightly harder than last year, but nothing really going on about. But yeah, out onto the new route, running slightly downhill past the finish line for the first time. Feeling pretty good actually for the first few K. You then turn right, go past the swim start where you were probably 5 or 6 hours before, and then you turn right to head back up the lake. And it's at that point that everyone on race day will remember. It's the first time you get punched in the face by the headwind, and it's pretty strong actually. I think it was pretty strong last year as well, but yeah, and then you've got to run round the trees, up the little hills, and then back into more of a headwind before doing the other 2 loops. So yeah, I think interesting. Look at the stats. I wonder if I went out a little bit too hard. My first half of the half I managed in 42 minutes, which would have brought me out just under 90, but then the second half of the half I did 50 minutes. It was a massive difference, 8-minute difference to a positive split, which isn't good, but so I did fade. Looking back as well, I wonder if maybe my fueling didn't go to plan. Well, I know it didn't. I didn't have even half of the breakfast that I was planning on having. I just had porridge and a couple of rice cakes. I didn't finish even half of my fluids on the bike, so I do wonder if just over time, towards the end, back half of the run, my body was just depleted. But anyway, it is what it is. In terms of time, it was a 1:31:59 I think, so just under 1:32, a little bit slower than last year. In terms of position, I think I started the run around, I think it was 230th, and then finished Finished 151st, I think, out of nearly 1,400 people, so just outside the top 10%. So yeah, overall, pretty happy with that. So there you have it, folks, all done and dusted in 4 hours, 51 minutes and 27 seconds for a final position of 151st. So pretty happy with that. In terms of my age group, I was 25th out of 141 and 140th male overall. So yeah, around 10-minute PB over the course, slightly different run course, but yeah, 10 minutes, and it pretty much all came from the swim and transitions, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I do feel like I nailed the transitions this time, but it would have been good to chip off a little bit of time in the bike and run, but we'll try that next time. The next video, I am going to try and run through some things that I learnt from this experience and how they're going to change what I do for the Ironman, the full distance Outlaw Nottingham, in around 2 months' time, because I may be making some changes. But yeah, stay tuned for that one, and I will see you in the next one. Oh, one other thing, to all the people who came up to me on race day and in the pre-race day and said hello, they recognised me from the channel. It was nice to say hello to you all, but I was probably a little bit awkward. I didn't really know what to say or do, so thanks for saying hello, but yeah, hopefully I'll see you at a future event. I hope you all had a good day as well. So yeah, like I say, see you in the next one.